This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Last week we worked on the forward cabin storage areas and prepping the bilge area for resin sealing.
And, this coming week we're going to probably spend a lot of time in the bilges. Not looking forward to that, but that's what we're going to do. And but we got other things as well, so let's hop right into the work. Over here at the forward bench, and this thing's almost done, but it doesn't have a back. So we're going to put the back in right now, and then we won't fall through. That's the theory. There we go, a seat back. Well, now that we've got that back in up there, I thought, well, let's just finish this completely as far as all gluing. So we have this one last panel to put on that hides this conduit area. And I've got Brian mixing up some epoxy right now, and we're going to glue that panel in. So the next stage of this table will be tabbing everything. Now we've already tabbed the insides and bottoms of this, but we have to tab the two seat backs, both sides, and this over here that we're putting in right now. So a little bit of tabbing, and then this will all be ready for fairing and sanding and painting at that point. This whole salon is close to that, where we're just going to be fairing and sanding up here and painting, because all the green, all this stuff, this is the last piece that I know of that we haven't glued in. So we'll be done with the salon as far as the green goes. And obviously we've been concentrating on the bilges because we've got to get all those tanks done, because we've got to build upwards from the tanks to the sole, to the walls, to the cupboards. But we'll get this in here right now. That's in. We're going to fill this little corner part with surround it over, and we'll be good. Now we're back on the starboard side, forward cabin. And if you remember, we cut this wall here. We cut mostly it out of this one. We're moving it forward here to this one. And we're going to seal this up right now so that we can have our workroom over there, and we'll glue in the work table soon on the other side. But to start with, we're going to seal up this wall. Also, at the same time, we put the shelves in over here, but we haven't glued these end pieces on here, so we're going to put these on right now as well, so that these are finished up. Now in all of our cupboards, we're not closing them up, so there aren't any doors or anything for these cupboards. But on the other hand, we don't want stuff to fall out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put magnets permanently attached on the insides of these, and magnets up here on the tops as well. And then Marianne's going to take like a nylon fish net, black, and she's going to sew a border around that. And inside of the top and bottom of that border, she's going to insert a stainless steel, small stainless steel flat bar. And that will attach to the insides of these and to the top. And so this will be held magnetically. And if you need to get in here, you can just pull the magnet loose and let that hang and deal with that, and then just snap it back up again. So we're doing that on all the cupboards everywhere. We're using, like I say, a sort of a nylon fish netting, magnetically held. And the reason that we're doing that everywhere instead of cupboards is that it saves a couple different things. It saves a lot of work in putting cupboards in and a lot of cost and all the hinges and such, but that's not really the main reason we're doing it. I don't mind spending that. But the main reason is because we want airflow into all of these cupboards, because anything that's sealed up is more likely to have mildew problems. Anytime that you have easy airflow in and out, it's much less mildew. And so by going with netting instead of hard doors on all of these different ones, we have a lot of airflow in and out. So that's the main reason. And even this hanging locker over here, we'll just have a flat piece here and a flat piece low down, and then a big magnetically held net again that it goes up again to allow airflow into whatever clothing is inside of here. And it also keeps anything from falling out, the netting, but it lets airflow in as well. So that's our plan for the entire boat. Lots of net. And the Admiral will be sewing all of those for us. And we'll be putting her onto that sewing job pretty soon. She's got a lot of sewing jobs. After she's done all the netting for, I don't know, 40 cupboard faces, a lot. She'll also be sewing the enclosures that go around the cockpit. So there's two things there. There's the clear plastic ones for when it's rain and stuff we want to keep out. And then there's the bug netting for when we just want to keep insects out. So there's two enclosures that she has to make for the whole stern of the boat there. And she'll be sewing all those herself, and all the zippers and stuff that make that all work. She's also going to be sewing the chaps for the dinghy that we're going to make. So she'll sew all those. I was originally going to have her sew the cushions as well, but I found some pretty good deals on just buying these cushions already made, and so I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. They're fairly inexpensive to get these, so rather than have her have to sew all of those, she's got plenty to do with the enclosures and all of the cupboard openings and the dinghy chaps. I better get to cleaning because Brian's over there mixing right now, so I better clean this up before he gets here. This morning we are going to seal the top of the diesel tank where we put on all of our L brackets here for the lid to land on, but underneath of there we have a lip here and of course fiberglass there that's exposed. So what we're doing is we're going to tab around there with Basalt tabs and get that completely sealed so that we don't have to worry about the diesel getting onto any fiberglass. Now the fiberglass would have gotten coated with epoxy and it's still been fine, but we just want to make sure. So we're going to tab all of the diesel tank ones. We won't have to do the water because it doesn't have the same corrosion problems, but we will have to do the diesel. I had Jeff clean all this out with alcohol a couple days ago, but we're going to have to give it a second cleaning here because you just never know what kind of dust has settled on it in 2 days from other work. Now we're going to go 1 cube at a time. So in this hole there's 6 and 6 more in the other hole. That's because it's a semi-warm day today. It's not too hot. It's going to be 83 degrees Fahrenheit, that in Celsius, and but it's not 83 yet. Right now, temperature in Laverne 70 degrees. So again, that in Celsius. It's good epoxy weather right this minute, but we still don't want to mix so much at once that it starts setting up. So we're just going to do 1 cube. We'll put the thickened on. He'll roll out each piece for me this time. I'll put the wet basalt onto it, and then I'll apply the peel ply. And the first thing we did this morning is cut a ton of pieces for all of the tanks in both sides of the hull and all the peel ply pieces. Now in this particular case over here, we didn't use peel ply because it was getting sealed up permanently and nothing would ever be in there. This is different. Even though it's getting sealed up, second, a helicopter going by. So even though it's getting sealed up, there's going to be diesel in it. So this has nothing in it. And so we have to make sure that that diesel is not going to be able to get to anything it shouldn't. And that's the difficulty of building your own tanks in, is that you have to make sure that you do a really good job of sealing it. Now, once we've got this all sealed up in the inspection hatch and the various ports on here, this, which goes right here, and then there's an access hatch there. So this gets your fuel lines and your vent tubes and your fill tube from up above. All that comes into this one, but here we have our inspection port. So once the inspection port's on and this is on and all sealed in, we'll run a pressure test on this whole thing and make sure that this is holding pressure before we continue on. Hopefully it will be. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that it'll be very, very, very tightly sealed in here. And even the lids that we're going to be gluing down will have a layer of basalt put onto them. And of course, the 5 layers of epoxy that we're going to put in the tank and onto the basalt on the lid. So when that gets sealed down, our real only problem is going to be this little edge right here, because the lid's going to come over and the basalt's be on the other side of this, but there's an edge of exposed fiberglass in the tank. So what we're going to do for that is, once we've glued the lid down, there should be squeeze out that comes out, and then we're just going to reach in and we're going to make sure that we take that squeeze out and seal that whole edge. Then we're going to go inside with epoxy, clear epoxy, and paint this seal with a few layers as well. So to make sure that the fiberglass is completely sealed inside of here. Now, I did have somebody recently ask me why we're doing built-in tanks and why don't we just buy tanks and put them in the hull. And it would be a lot less work for us to buy tanks and put them in the hulls. But that's all. There's other things that we gain advantages on by building these tanks. First of all, we hold more fuel, because the second you take another walled item and put it into this weirdly shaped rounded bottom here, it's not going to be a perfect fit no matter what. So you're going to lose fuel storage by doing that. So this gets maximum fuel storage in these tanks. So that's good. These are also lighter because it's just the weight of the basalt that we put on here. And you put in even an aluminum tank, it's going to be heavier than that. Even a plastic tank will be heavier than that. So you save some weight on here. And then there's the cost. Buying these custom-made tanks, every one of these would have to be custom, because every one of these is a different shape, would be extremely expensive, thousands of dollars. You can figure that each one of these tanks would be $400-500. So, you got maybe $3,000 worth of tanks there. So that's a lot of money that we save. And then as far as durability goes, you would think that a metal tank would be more durable than these basalt tanks, but you'd probably be thinking wrong there. The problem with any metal tank is you have the problem of water getting trapped down in between straps and such. You have vibration between whatever's holding that tank in. So you can get, over time, you can get pinholes going through metal tanks. And if you want to see some videos of that, you can just watch an old Winds episode. They had leaks in their fuel tanks. You can watch a Blown Away episodes. They had leaks in their fuel tanks. These are all metal tanks, and they had to pull those tanks out of the boat to either get them repaired or replace them with new tanks. So which brings up maintenance. If we do get a hole in one of these tanks, and you go, yeah, these are permanently sealed, how could you deal with it? Well, we would just come in to whatever tank has the problem and just cut a hole into the lid, take that lid out, go down and fix the problem with more basalt, more epoxy. Easy to do. And I can do this anywhere. But let's look at built-in tanks. What would happen? If these are built-in tanks, there's a wall. There's a hanging locker here. There's a wall going across here. There's no way to lift those pre-made tanks out. You would have to take all the walls and cupboards out of here first. Then you'd have to somehow get the sole up, and then you could pull those tanks out. So it'd be a colossal amount of work to do that. Here I'm going with black for this one. Gonna be a lot of rubbing around in there. A little thicker glove. Sometimes. I don't use these all the time because they're more expensive. Not that we paid for them. Thank you, Terry, one of our crew members in the future who works full-time and can't be here working on the boat a lot, so he buys us stuff as a way of helping, like gloves and many other things. So thank you, Terry. What I'm doing here is I'm putting a bead up here along the bottom of the ridge that's created at the bottom of the L bracket. And that'll help us get rid of that ridge once we put the salt layer in here. So I'm waiting on Brian to mix up some more epoxy, this time the thin stuff, because it's time to put on our basalt tabs. Anyway, what was I on? Oh yeah, well I'm waiting. So the built-in tanks are much harder to repair if they do have a problem, because I have to take the whole boat apart in here. There'd be, a toilet right here that had to get removed. So many things would have to get taken apart to get that tank out of this build. So the fact of the matter is if I was going to do built-in tanks, I couldn't have done it down here. So there's a lot of reasons why we wanted to go with this. All right, you're looking for 19 and a half and 21, right? 19 and a half and 21. And then after that, you're going to be looking for 17 and 15. I will say this, for all those positives of putting these tanks into the bilge area and building them ourselves, including getting all of this weight so low down in the boat, which is the best place for it, it's a really annoying working in the bilge. And I'm going to be so happy to be done with that. This leaning over stuff is no fun. Okay. The basalt is going over, up around, and then beyond the edge of this. And then, like I say, we'll just grind that off eventually, and we'll have a basalt all the way around the inside of that. Good morning. So yesterday I said we were working on the basalt tabbing on the diesel tank where the L brackets are. And I showed you the first one going down, but then I said I'll skip to the end. Well, we only got the starboard hull done on yesterday because that is really serious leaning over work, and I was just getting tired in the back. Certainly no injury, but I could just feel it getting tired. And so instead of trying to crouch down and do another 6 tanks, which might have caused me issue, I said we'll do the rest tomorrow. So we did half the hull on yesterday, and we'll do half the boat on the starboard side and half the boat on this port side today. And so we'll do these 4 to start with right here, and then we'll finish up with these 2 behind me here. So that will conclude all of the basalt tabbing we have to do on these things. But we've got other things that we're working on right now as well. Besides, once we get this done, assuming I'm not completely wiped out, I will get over to the workroom, and we're starting to get that done. We've got some tabbing done in there yesterday, and today we're going to glue in the actual bench and do a little bit of filling on a core around the bulkhead that we had to do. So we're going to get that area kind of finished up today.
We're down to the last 2 diesel compartments, so we're going to clean them up and get the basalt on.
And Brian is mixing us up epoxy right now. And Marianne and I are going to continue. We already did the first 4 diesel compartments this morning, and now we're going to do these last 2. Our conundrum for the next phase is we have to coat the insides of these and the lids with about 5 layers of West System epoxy. And this is to create a seal for the diesel on the inside completely. It would probably be fine the way it is, but by putting those 5 layers, we're making sure there are no pinholes or anything like that anywhere, because it'll fill all that in. The problem is that, of course, we don't want to sand between these layers, so that means we need to do it when there's a chemical bond. And the problem there is that depending on the temperature, which varies during the day, it's quite a bit different how long you wait between layers. So, for example, if we were in 60 degrees Fahrenheit, or that in Celsius, then my friend, the guy with the train, if we were in 60 degrees, it would take 5, 6, even 8 hours. If we're in 80 degrees, it could take 2 or 3 hours. And since the temperature is changing throughout the day, we have different amounts of time we have to wait. And to get 5 layers on, that means it's going to take a very long time. The problem is if we start in the morning when it's cool, then we have to wait 6-8 hours before we can do the next layer. If we wait in the middle of the day, that's great. If it gets warmer, then it can be 2 or 3 hours, but we got 5 coats. So you start at midday, let's say 11 a.m., and you go 1, 3, 5, and 8. It's getting colder again now though, so it takes longer. Suddenly we're in here trying to do, a layer late. If it gets cold enough, we can go all night because it's 8 hours and come back early in the morning and put the last coat on. So it's going to be a little bit timing critical. Okay. Yay! You know what this means?
No.
Lunchtime! That's what this means. Yay. Get out of the hole and let this stuff set up.
Standing here in the workroom, we're going to get to putting the bench in today, but before we can do that, we've got to fill in epoxy, which Brian's mixing up right now, and most of it's already done, but we've got this last little piece to go, and so he's coming with epoxy shortly. Okay, so I'm going to finish putting the thickened epoxy on this particular bulkhead. Alright, looks like we're just about done with that.
Alright, we just put this workbench in. Just cleaning up a little bit. So that's in there. We've got some clamps holding it. And be nice for doing some work in here. Next thing I got to do is seal in and tab around there. I got to tab off this whole bench in so that it's very solid. Marianne just finished putting in this cove, actually fill of epoxy around here, so that won't be a problem. We've still got to fill this one. I've already cored it out, but I've got to fill this one all the way around here. So this workroom area is coming along pretty well. A small problem over here. If you remember, the hallway was too narrow, and so we moved everything back over. But when we glued in the cupboard up above and stuck it in, we hadn't trimmed that off to the new length, which is way back here. So Brian's in here taking off that little piece to make it right now. Now while he's down in the hall working, I'm over here working on the electronic panel, because it was just a little too snug to actually rotate down like this. But now you can rotate into position just fine. So I just had to take a little bit off the side and a little bit off of here. And now that sits in there just fine. So next up on this is we got to put the trough to catch the water runoff back there. Good morning, it's Friday. And we're down in the bilge, of course, because that's our life now. And the bilges from hell. So what we're doing today is a big job. We're going to try and start coating all of these tanks, both the diesel, the black water, and the gray water tanks, with our sealing layers of West System epoxy. But before we can do that, we have to take these fringes off right here. Now, we did this on purpose. We took the basalt beyond the L bracket so that it would coat the entire bottom of the L bracket. So we took it beyond on purpose and figured we'd just grind it back there. Now, the very edge of it will eventually, as we glue the top down, we'll put a little bead along there to seal that so no diesel can get anywhere into these L brackets. But today we're going to sand these off. Then we're going to start cleaning. In fact, Brian's already on the starboard side over there. I'm on the port side. I've already ground off the fringes over there, and he's now starting the process of vacuuming and cleaning. And I'm going to grind off the fringes on this side and all the diesel tanks, and then we'll clean this side as well. I'm over on the starboard side of the boat, standing on the stairway, and just looking down here into the bilge. You can see how by that slickness you see that we have now coated all of these various tanks, the 4 from the front there, diesel, the 3 right here are black water, the 3 back there are gray water, and that's our second diesel tank back there. But they're all have their first coat of West System epoxy on there. And we're going over to the port side now. And you can see this is not glossy, but it is all very clean. So we've been scrubbing and sanding and scrubbing and scrubbing. And now we've got this all ready to go. And we're going to paint on the first layer of West System epoxy to start putting a seal on these compartments right now. And then we'll go to lunch. When we come back, this will probably be set up enough because it's around 70 degrees or 72 degrees Fahrenheit down in Celsius. And that means that the epoxy should set up in a couple hours, so we can put the second coat on today as well. And then we'll wait 8 hours, which is still within the time window from when it'll be a chemical bond. And tomorrow we'll put on 3 more coats in both hulls. But at least we won't have to do any sanding and prep for it. We can just go straight to the epoxy roll. All right, here we go. Brian will work from the outside of the boat, working on this side of the tanks. I will come in and do these 4 on this side, and then I'll have them with me. We've got these 3 done and the 2 there, so 1 more diesel one here. And then on this side of the boat we have a little different. We have black water, gray water, black water, because there's a toilet here and a toilet way over there. And that shower's in between right over the gray water. I've been working on all the fuel lines. Working on meaning ordering all the stuff we need. and trying to cut down on the number of fuel lines that we have to run. But I want the capability of putting fuel from one tank into any other tank. So no matter what tank I'm pulling it out of to polish, I can send it back to any other tank. So if I want to balance the boat port to starboard, I can send it over there. If I want to balance the boat a little bit stern to bow, I can go forward or backwards. All these tanks are coated with their first coat, so that means we can head to lunch and let this set up, and then we'll come back, and once it's not tacky anymore, it has to get hard enough for that, then we'll go ahead and put on another coat today, and then 3 tomorrow, and Bob's your uncle. It's Saturday, and we've got Jeff here helping Brian and I. We're putting on the 3rd coat, sealing up our diesel tanks here. So we got these 4 down over here, and we're working our way over. Jeff's doing the hard work today. He's inside doing the lean over portion, and I'm getting my back a break today because I'm doing the outer tanks that Brian did yesterday. You can do those standing up here. We ran into some difficulty, and that difficulty is that this resin-rich mixture of our coating for the tanks is taking a little longer to set up than we'd hoped. It's still tacky right now, and it's getting later in the afternoon, so it's just too cool today. So what we're going to do is, we don't normally work on Sundays, but Jeff is kind enough to come in on his Sunday, and I'll meet him here tomorrow morning. Brian's got something he's got to do. But Jeff and I will come in tomorrow and put the second, well, technically the 4th coat of resin onto both sides of the hull. And then we'll do that in the late morning, and then we'll come in early on Monday, and Brian and I will do the final coat. And that way that there's still less than 24 hours between each coat, which is within the chemical bond window. So we had to quickly adapt to that. But while we've been waiting for this resin to set up, we've been working on other things. So we've got our trough system back here much further along now. So that's the way it's going to work. And that is both if it ever drips off of here or if it drips off of the back edge of this, either one lands in this trough, and it'll run down to the pickup on that end once we put that in. So that's coming along. The next thing we have to do on these, we're going to do it right now, is fill these. We already cored them, but we got to fill the exposed edges on these. So these little blocks, I'll take them down. We'll do that right now. Well, Brian, that slacker, had to go to a party. He's going to the Army-Navy football game party, not to the actual game. And so I told him to head out. But since we can't put the extra coat of resin on yet until tomorrow morning, Jeff and I decided to fill all these cord pieces for some of the shelves and hanging walker pieces that we made right here today. So we're going to go ahead and fill these up before we head out. Jeff and I are here on our normal day off, putting on another coat of epoxy into our diesel gray water and black water tanks. And then on Monday, tomorrow early, Brian and I will put the final coat on. And we had to come in, as I mentioned earlier, because of yesterday's not setting up quite fast enough, and yet we had to be within the 24-hour window for a chemical bond. So that's why we're here today and doing a little extra work on a Sunday. Just the right amount of epoxy. I'm down to the last bit of epoxy here, and I'm on to the last square foot of our coat. That's exactly what we need. It's not surprising after putting 4 coats of this on, we've gotten it down to exactly how much epoxy it uses. All right, so this side of the hull is done. I'll go mix up and we'll head over to the port side. So we're on to the port side now, and once we get this one done, we'll quit for the day because this isn't really our normal day to work. So, Jeff was kind enough to come in on a Sunday and get this done because of it just had to be. Otherwise, we would have had to sanded all these tanks and cleaned them all again between the next coats. But by coming in, we don't have to sand. So we're good to go there. All right, so these two are already ready to go. Then I will get a rolling. All right, so that would be the penultimate layer. And tomorrow morning, Brian and I will put the ultimate layer on. And then we got to do the underside of all the lids. And when the lids are glued down onto the diesel tanks, we're going to put a bead of thickened epoxy, make sure that it's plenty so that there's a little squeeze out all the way around. And then I have to go in from the inspection ports and clean up that edge on there, and then back into the inspection ports and put epoxy at that seam all the way around all the diesel tanks. Once that's done, there'll be a solid 5 layers of West System epoxy in the entire tank. At that point, we can let them set up for a while. We'll give them like a week or so, and then we can pressure test them.
For our last job this week, we are going to assemble our rain gutter behind our electronics panel. We have the bridge pieces set up, and we're going to put the trough into that, and you can see that it's going to catch any water that comes in from the windows here straight into the trough. Now we have the inserts.
And what these do is, in case there's any wicking of water that comes down here, it won't go down there, it'll run around here and down into the trough as well. And as you can see here, maybe you can see, but this water that would go off goes straight down the center of that trough down below there. So that's the catchment system for our water that comes in from the hatches and stuff. And We'll glue that in next week. But thank you for watching our video this week. We appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with us.
Yes, and thank you to our patrons listed here. We appreciate you so much. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
Because we got lots of fun next week. We're going to finish up more on those bilges. And I'll tell you, that's going to be so nice to get those things finished off and sealed up so I don't have to lean over inside those anymore. We're also going to get to some other new stuff as well. So we'll see you next week for all of that.
Bye.